Good morning. I've kind of decided it's time to get back on some video bandwagon time. Do some videos again. I haven't done them in a while. And what better way to start than with a trip? And I had this idea for a topic to talk about. And this is a good time to start talking about it. I'm traveling to New York today for a new job that I picked up a bit ago. Super cool. I'm excited about the job. It's great. I'm enjoying the travel. That's wonderful. But one thing that I haven't talked a ton about is some of the financial way that we live our life, that Nicole and I live our life. And a big, huge part of that is the fact that we live debt-free. But one of the questions that consistently comes up is people say, well, how do you travel without credit cards? And so I'm going to talk about that. But for now, I'm here at the Peoria airport. It's about 5 in the morning. My flight leaves in about an hour. And we're going to hit it. So I'll see you up there. So we don't have any credit cards. None whatsoever. But even booking flights to like Salt Lake City, family vacations, you can do all of that with debit cards. I also want to talk, and we'll talk in more detail, about the fact that a lot of people are concerned that you don't get some level of protection. Well, as long as that credit card you have has the MasterCard or Visa logo on it, I think there's even Discover now, but as long as it has those things, you do get the same level of protection. Some of the time frames are a little bit different in terms of when you have to do things, and that's all available online. You can do it all with debit cards, and I think that's kind of the first thing to talk about. It's a myth that you can't. It's a myth that you can't rent cars. It's a myth that you can't rent hotels. It just requires a next level of planning. So we'll get into that in more detail here at some point over the length of this trip. So headed out today, headed back on Saturday morning. I'm gonna go get through security. It won't take very long, and we'll catch up with you guys later. Alright, I have made it to Newark. Got a cool view of downtown New York as we came across. Alright, so I'm here at the baggage claim. Got a few minutes that I can just relax and talk while I'm waiting for stuff to show up, because there are baggage in here yet. I thought it would take a couple of seconds to talk about how it is we do this, right? Because we're going to make the theme of this vlog how you travel without credit cards, then we need to be able to do that, right? So really the way we do it with our family, and without using any credit, is to separate an account just for travel. And so we've got multiple accounts, and we do the envelope system, we do multiple accounts for various things, but one of the accounts we have is a travel account. We actually have a savings travel account for saving up for a big trip, and then we also have an actual travel debit account. It's a MasterCard debit account, works beautifully. And what we do is we put the money that we're going to spend for that trip on that card, right, in that account. What that does, and one of the big issues with using a credit card or not using a credit card, is that when you swipe to, do your hotel room, or when you swipe to get gas even, or when you swipe to, rent your car or whatever, oftentimes it will put a hold on your account. And if you do that on your primary checking account, well, then you've got to hold against money that is not really necessarily devoted to your trip. So we do that. We have, and you can add a little buffer in if you need it to be, but that hold's not really, well, very rarely. It is sometimes going to be more than what you're going to spend anyway. So let them hold that account in that travel thing. It also gives you a level of protection against theft, right? If someone steals your card, or your card goes in a skimmer or something like that, having that separate account allows you to only have the risk of the money that was in that account. I think it works incredibly well. It offers some protection, it offers some flexibility, and it also kind of acts like an envelope. If you're familiar with the envelope system, way of handling budgeting, typically it's cash in a physical envelope, and when you run out of cash in that envelope, you can't spend anything on that category anymore. Same thing, if you put money into a travel account, that's your budget. you cannot go over that because there's no more money in that account. Once you swipe and it's gone, right? So it really helps you to maintain focus on not overspending when you're traveling and to really do the right things, right? As well, in a business situation like I'm traveling today, the company's covering my hotel, they're covering my flights, and that's great. But all the incidentals, right, all of my food, anything else that I need while I'm here is my responsibility. They're going to reimburse things like food, right? But what I can do is I can put that all in the travel card, and then only the stuff that I do comes into that account, right? So it's really easy to track what I've spent, look for receipts, whatever, and then it's not mixed in with all of the other transactions that occur on our primary account on a daily basis. So for business travel like this, it's incredibly useful to be able to just limit your exposure, limit the number of transactions so you can track and manage and budget against that really well. But I had a few minutes and I wanted to kind of talk through that. So we will catch you later. Sitting here at a subway station just off Times Square, waiting for a trip back down by the World Trade Center, which is where my hotel is. So I've got a few minutes. So let's talk about really the big topic, I think, probably one of the most common things that is brought up when you talk to people about not using credit cards for travel, right? Not using debt for travel. And let's get this out of the way now at this point. Using a credit card is debt, period. I've gotten in arguments with people over this. But the moment you swipe that card, until the moment you pay that balance off, you're in debt. One of the most common objections to that is, I can't rent a car without a credit card. And this is probably one of the stickier or more difficult things to do without a credit card. So a lot of people say, well, the major companies won't rent to me without a credit card. And that is true in some cases, although if your debit card has a MasterCard or Visa or Discover logo on it, you don't necessarily have to tell them, say, here's my Visa card, and they run it. And oftentimes they're not going to know the difference. I've heard that. I've had that happen a number of times. But the other side is, I'll take the last time I rented a car, and we're about to do this again, was with National. I went to go book it, and it said, we can't take debit cards for this reservation. It's like, okay. I believe that not to be true, so I called. Right? It actually let me book it on the site. I put in my credit card information, said you're booked, that's great. But I wanted to call and verify. So I called the rental place, right? The actual location there at the Orlando airport. I just want to verify that I used a debit card, a Visa or MasterCard debit card to book this reservation. I just want to verify that we're not going to have any problems with that. And the lady said, absolutely, sir, that's not a problem. All we need is return flight verification. In fact, all she wanted was return flight number. If you've got the return flight information on your phone, just show it to the agent and you're good. Like, all right, so I did that. Showed them when I got there, rented the car, everything went fine. When it comes down to it, the reality is they're going to put a hold on your account. And that's why I talked earlier about having a separate account for this. They're going to put a hold on your account, right? That's fine. They'll either let the hold go or they're going to charge you that amount because it's what you owe anyway to your card. So go rent your car. The other side of that is if you run across a particular location that refuses to take your debit card, go rent a car somewhere else. I've not been to an airport yet, including Podunk, Bloomington, and Peoria, where I often fly out of, that don't have at least 3 or 4 rental companies. I guarantee you one of them is going to take your debit card, but you can absolutely rent a car without a credit card. Landed in Peoria. I'm in the truck. Headed back to the house right now. I did want to kind of wrap up the topic that I chose to talk about through this short little jaunt to New York. And that's the idea of, again, traveling without credit cards, traveling without debt. One of the biggest objections that we've experienced as we've taught the financial peace stuff and encouraged people to cut up their credit cards, or from friends when we're talking about that kind of stuff, one of the biggest objections that we get is, well, what about points? What about rewards? What about cash back? And that really relates to travel pretty well, because that's typically what a lot of people use those credit card rewards for, is travel. But there's a couple of reasons in my mind, and kind of in the credit cardless community, to not do that, right? So really the overarching reason that points are not what you think they are, that they're not really a good reason to keep credit cards and to travel on credit, is because reward points in those systems, cashback, all that stuff, those are marketing ploys. That is a marketing campaign by the credit card companies to get you to spend money on their card. They make money by you spending money on their card, right? They don't make money by giving you money back, or by giving you airline tickets, or by giving you whatever, right? All of those rewards are there as a way to entice you to swipe that card more. So to think you're beating the system, to have the attitude of, well, I'm smarter than these credit card companies who have done incredible amounts of research to determine how to do this. I'm smarter than they are, and I know that I can get a whole bunch of money out, or a whole bunch of benefit out of this, right? If I'm gonna, you hear things like, oh, I gotta pay my electric bill anyway, I might as well get points for it. So just realize that you're being marketed to at that point, and that is 100% of what that is. Top cashback type cards. I think there's one that in very small certain circumstances you might earn 4 or 5% back. Most of the time it's 1 or 2% if you're lucky, and that's just the cashback cards. The ones that are reward points based, the value of what you're getting versus how much you have to spend is infinitesimal. I mean, it's 1% or less. So you're flirting with the bank, you're carrying debt even if it's short, and you're incurring risk to get a reward of 1%. 1% means that if you spend $100 on your credit card, you're getting a value of $1 back out. That doesn't seem worth my time. I know, but it's free money, and I've heard that. But that free money comes with risk. There's other reasons not to carry credit, and other reasons why it just doesn't actually mathematically make sense. Things like, and the reason that McDonald's was the first fast food company to accept credit cards, because they did a ton of research and discovered that people spend on average at a restaurant like that, like 46% more. I don't remember what the actual number is, but that's kind of an extreme case. The reality is, broadly across credit card usage, people spend an average of 18% more when they're swiping plastic versus using cash. So if you're going to spend on average 18% more on your vacation, on your travel, on the things you're buying while you're out there, so that you can get 1% or less back in benefits or rewards, that doesn't make sense. If you're going to end up spending 18% more out at those restaurants, and 18% more when you're buying furniture, and all of those other things you're putting on your credit card to earn points, just so that you can get even 5% back, the math isn't there. It does not make sense. So I'm going to wrap this all up by saying, from the topic that I wanted to kind of cover over the length of this vlog, that the topic of traveling without debt, I want to encourage you guys to think about doing it this way. I want you to think about not using credit cards, not borrowing, from, going to get a personal loan or a vacation loan. Those are real things. Don't tap into your home equity line of credit to go take a vacation. Don't do those things. Plan for and appropriately pay for your vacations with cash, with real money. And then kind of the final thing, and one of the best parts about paying with cash for your vacations and for doing them on a budget, is that your vacations do not follow you home. This is not a situation, if you pay cash, where you go on a big family vacation and then you come back and spend the next 6 or 8 months paying off all the debt because you've already paid for it in cash. If you liked this video, make sure you give it the thumbs up, subscribe, that helps us out a lot. Share the video with people you might think would enjoy it. And as well, if you've got a comment about some situation you've run into where you've not used debt, or even a question about some situation you think you have no choice but to use a credit card, put that in the comments. I'd love to have discussions about those things and talk about the reality versus the myth, or maybe what your situation is. So there it is. We'll catch you guys later.